Hello everyone and welcome to my channel YNR Trends. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Genoa City awakens under a cold, ominous sky on Friday, December 26, 2025, as the echoes of unanswered questions, fractured loyalties, and buried sins ripple through every corner of town, beginning with the shocking realization that nothing from Christmas night unfolded the way anyone believed it had. Because behind the festive smiles and carefully wrapped gifts, dark agendas were already in motion, and by morning, the consequences are impossible to ignore, especially when Victor Newman stands silently in his living room at the ranch, staring at the ashes in the fireplace as if they hold the remains of a secret meant to stay buried forever. His expression unreadable yet heavy with calculation, while Nikki senses that whatever Victor is hiding now is far more dangerous than any corporate war he has ever fought. And she knows from the way his jaw tightens that he has already chosen power over truth once again. Even as across town, Victoria wrestles with her own conscience after discovering late-night security footage that suggests someone within Newman Enterprises deliberately erased evidence tied to a mysterious transfer made just hours before a violent incident that left Genoa City shaken. And though she tries to convince herself it's coincidence, her instincts scream betrayal, forcing her to question whether loyalty to her father has finally crossed a line she can no longer defend. Meanwhile, at the Abbott mansion, Jack wakes to a message that changes everything. Single cryptic text with no sender, reading only "You trusted the wrong ally." A warning that sends his thoughts racing back to a private conversation he had with Diane days earlier, one in which she insisted the past was behind them both. Yet now Jack can't escape the feeling that history is repeating itself in the most dangerous way possible. Especially as Kyle confronts Diane later that morning, demanding answers about her secret meeting with an unfamiliar man seen leaving the Abbott estate. Late at night, a confrontation that pushes Diane into a defensive spiral where she swears she's protecting her family while simultaneously refusing to explain what she's hiding, creating a rift so deep that Kyle begins to fear the woman he fought so hard to forgive may be orchestrating something that could destroy them all. Over at Crimson Lights, Sharon senses tension the moment she walks in, noticing Chance nursing a coffee he hasn't touched while replaying crime scene photos in his mind, images tied to a case that officially remains inactive, but continues to haunt him because the evidence doesn't add up, particularly the missing timeline between midnight and 2 a.m. on Christmas Eve, a gap that could expose someone powerful if filled. And though Chance insists he stepped back from the investigation, Sharon recognizes the look of a man torn between duty and survival, prompting her to gently warn him that Genoa City devours those who chase the truth too closely. Advice that lands harder than she intends when Chance quietly admits that someone he loves may be involved. At the same time, Adam Newman finds himself at a crossroads after receiving an anonymous file containing financial records, private messages, and one damning video clip implicating a Newman insider in a manipulation scheme that could topple Victor's empire overnight. And as Adam watches the footage again and again, his anger gives way to something colder and more dangerous, clarity, because for the first time, he realizes the chaos consuming Genoa City may be the very leverage he's been waiting for, even if using it means betraying his own blood, while Sally, sensing Adam's shift in energy, presses him for the truth, only to be met with half-answers and deflection, leaving her to wonder if loving Adam means constantly bracing for the moment his ambition eclipses his heart. Elsewhere, Phyllis Summers refuses to stay on the sidelines, especially after overhearing a heated exchange between Billy Abbott and an unknown caller discussing a payment that was never meant to be traced, a revelation that sends Phyllis spiraling into her familiar role as truth seeker and chaos starter, determined to uncover who Billy is protecting and why, even if it means reigniting old enemies and risking the fragile peace she's worked so hard to maintain, while Billy himself battles sleeplessness and guilt, haunted by a split-second decision he made that night, one that saves someone else but may ultimately cost him everything. As evening approaches, the drama intensifies when Elena confronts Nate about discrepancies in his recent hospital approvals, discrepancies that suggest someone altered patient records to cover up an injury that should have been reported. And though Nate insists he's innocent, Elena sees fear flicker in his eyes, fear not of being caught, but of who might retaliate if the truth comes out, pushing their relationship to the brink as trust erodes under the weight of secrets. Back at Newman Enterprises, Victor finally makes his move, summoning his children under the guise of unity while subtly probing their loyalties, testing who will stand with him when the storm inevitably breaks. Yet even he seems unsettled when an unexpected guest arrives, someone from his past long thought gone, whose presence alone threatens to expose a truth Victor buried decades ago, a truth that could dismantle the Newman legacy from the inside out. The episode barrels toward its climax when Chance receives a final piece of evidence slipped under his door, a simple object that shouldn't exist unless someone lied about where they were that night, forcing him to make an impossible choice as midnight approaches: protect the people he loves or deliver justice to a city already cracking under the weight of its own deception. And as Genoa City settles into uneasy silence, every character stands on the edge of consequence, unaware that by the time the sun rises again, alliances will shatter, names will be dragged through the mud, and one devastating truth, long hidden and fiercely protected, will finally come to light, proving once and for all that in Genoa City, secrets don't stay buried forever, they wait, and when they surface they destroy everything in their path. As the night tightens its grip on Genoa City, the fragile calm fractures completely, because the secrets hinted at earlier refuse to remain contained, and the moment Chance closes his door with the mysterious object still clutched in his hand, he realizes that the lie he's been circling is far more personal than he ever feared, forcing memories to resurface of a familiar voice, a familiar silhouette, and a promise that was never meant to be broken. While across town at the Newman ranch, Victor's unexpected visitor steps fully into the light, triggering a ripple of shock through the room as decades-old resentment resurfaces in a single charged glance. And Nikki instantly understands that this reunion is no accident but a deliberate move designed to destabilize Victor at a moment when his empire is already trembling, a realization that terrifies her because she knows Victor's instinct when cornered is not retreat but retaliation, even if it means sacrificing his own children. Truth that Victoria begins to grasp when Victor subtly warns her to stay in her lane, a phrase loaded with menace that confirms her worst fear, that the erased security footage wasn't about protection but concealment, and that her father may have crossed into territory from which there is no return. Meanwhile, Adam secretly arranges a meeting in a deserted warehouse, bringing the anonymous file with him, only to discover he's not the hunter but the target when the shadows reveal someone who knows not only what Adam possesses but what he intends to do with it, forcing Adam to confront the chilling possibility that every move he's made has been anticipated, while Sally, growing increasingly unsettled by Adam's evasiveness, begins to connect dots of her own, uncovering a trail that leads disturbingly close to Newman Enterprises, leaving her torn between exposing the truth and protecting the man she loves, a conflict that mirrors Sharon's internal struggle as she realizes her warning to Chance may have come too late, because Chance is already preparing to reopen a case that powerful people want buried, and the deeper he digs, the clearer it becomes that the crime isn't just about what happened that night but about what was orchestrated long before it, implicating individuals who have spent years presenting themselves as pillars of morality. At the Abbott mansion, Jack finally confronts Diane with the cryptic message, and the look on her face tells him everything before she even speaks, because she isn't denying the danger, only insisting that revealing the truth would destroy Kyle, a claim that ignites a furious argument ending with Jack demanding she choose between transparency and manipulation, a demand Diane isn't ready to answer, especially when Kyle overhears just enough to confirm his worst suspicions, pushing him toward a decision that could permanently sever their already fragile bond. Elsewhere, Phyllis follows her instincts straight into trouble, secretly recording a tense exchange between Billy and a mysterious fixer whose face remains hidden but whose voice carries authority, a discovery that sends Phyllis spiraling between triumph and dread, because she realizes Billy isn't just cleaning up a mistake, he's actively preventing a truth from surfacing, one that could ruin multiple lives including his own, while Billy, sensing the walls closing in, wrestles with guilt so intense it manifests as anger, lashing out at those closest to him, as he struggles to justify the moment he chose silence over justice. At the hospital, Elena presses harder, refusing to accept Nate's vague reassurances, and when she finally uncovers proof that medical records were altered under his authorization, the betrayal cuts deep, forcing Nate to admit he was pressured by someone with enough influence to end his career, a confession that leaves Elena shaken not only by what Nate did, but by how easily fear made him complicit, drawing a painful parallel to every compromised decision that has ever torn Genoa City apart. Back at Newman Enterprises, Victor executes a quiet but ruthless maneuver, transferring control of a crucial asset under the cover of night, a move that signals he's preparing for war. Yet even Victor seems rattled when he learns that the anonymous file Adam received originated from a source tied directly to the long-buried secret, now threatening to resurface, suggesting that someone has been waiting years for this precise moment to strike. While Nikki confronts Victor privately, demanding to know how much blood will be spilled to protect his legacy, a question Victor refuses to answer, choosing instead to remind her that survival in Genoa City has always come at a cost. As the hour grows late, Chance finally connects the final, realizing the object left at his door doesn't just place someone at the scene, it proves intent, a revelation that leaves him physically shaken as he understands the truth will devastate someone he still loves, forcing him to decide whether justice is worth the personal annihilation it will bring. And just when he believes he's ready to act, his phone rings with a warning that freezes him in place, because the voice on the other end knows what he knows and threatens consequences that extend far beyond him. The episode races toward its devastating final moments as Adam returns home to find Sally waiting, holding a piece of evidence he never intended her to see. Diane stands alone staring at a passport she swore she'd never use again. Jack realizes too late that his trust has been weaponized. Billy prepares to make a confession that could rewrite everything. Victor senses enemies closing in from all sides, and Chance stands at the brink of a choice that will either save Genoa City or burn it to the ground, culminating in a final, chilling reveal that confirms one undeniable truth. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a moment of chaos. This was a carefully planned reckoning. And as the screen fades to black, Genoa City braces for the fallout, because once the truth breaks free, there will be no undoing the damage it leaves behind. As dawn threatens to break over Genoa City, the tension that has been simmering for days finally erupts into open warfare, because the warnings, the threats, and the carefully constructed lies can no longer contain the truth clawing its way to the surface, beginning with Chance standing alone in his apartment, staring at the phone still warm in his hand after the chilling call, realizing that whoever orchestrated this reckoning knows not only his investigation but his heart, forcing him to relive the moment he chose to look away when he should have acted, a mistake that now places everyone he loves in danger. While across town at the Newman ranch, Victor senses the news tightening as reports of internal leaks, shifting alliances, and unexpected subpoenas begin to circulate, prompting him to summon Michael Baldwin in the early hours, demanding a legal strategy that protects the Newman name at any cost, even as Michael hesitates for the first time in years, recognizing that the evidence forming behind the scenes may be too extensive to bury, and that Victor's usual intimidation tactics could finally backfire. Meanwhile, Adam pieces together the final layer of the anonymous file and makes a horrifying discovery, that the origin of the plot traces back to a single night years ago when a decision was made to redirect blame, manipulate records and silence witnesses, a decision Adam now understands involved more than one Newman, a realization that leaves him torn between exposing the truth and becoming the villain his family has always accused him of being, while Sally confronts him with her evidence, forcing Adam to admit that the chaos unfolding isn't accidental but the result of a long-gestating revenge plan aimed squarely at the heart of the Newman Empire. A confession that leaves Sally shaken as she realizes loving Adam may now mean standing in the direct line of fire. At the Abbott mansion, Jack wakes to police at his door, not as suspects but as messengers, informing him that financial transactions linked to his company have been flagged in connection to a larger criminal inquiry. News that hits like a punch to the gut and instantly reframes every argument, every secretive conversation, and every warning he ignored, while Diane, overhearing everything, finally cracks under the weight of her deception and admits she's been paying someone to keep a past incident from resurfacing, insisting she did it to protect Kyle, even as Kyle storms out in disgust, unable to reconcile the woman he wanted to believe in with the one standing before him. Elsewhere, Phyllis releases just enough information to ignite chaos, leaking a carefully edited recording that points investigators toward Billy without fully implicating him, a move that satisfies her hunger for control while simultaneously placing Billy under intense scrutiny, pushing him to the brink as he contemplates confessing everything to save others from the fallout, even though doing so would confirm the worst suspicions about his judgment. At the hospital, Elena faces the devastating reality of Nate's involvement when an internal review is launched, forcing Nate to reckon with the consequences of choosing self-preservation over integrity, and as Elena walks away, her silence speaks louder than any accusation, signaling a fracture that may never heal. Back at Newman Enterprises, Victor executes one final contingency plan, quietly positioning scapegoats and transferring liabilities, but his confidence falters when he learns that Chance is closer than ever to identifying the mastermind, and that the evidence he holds proves intent, motive, and coordination, a combination even Victor may not be able to outrun. While Nicky confronts him with the painful truth that this time, his power may not be enough, and for the first time, Victor has no rebuttal. As the clock ticks toward a breaking point, Chance finally acts, delivering the evidence to his superiors despite knowing it will devastate lives, only to receive confirmation moments later that an arrest warrant is being prepared, not for a minor player, but for someone whose name will shock Genoa City to its core. And just as the pieces seem poised to fall into place, a final twist detonates when a last-minute discovery reveals the plot was never meant to end with exposure, because someone has been manipulating events to provoke a catastrophic confrontation, one designed to force Victor Newman into an irreversible move. And as sirens echo in the distance, Adam stands alone holding proof that could either save his soul or destroy his family forever. Chance prepares to make an arrest that will change Genoa City history, and the screen fades out on one chilling certainty. The truth is no longer hiding, it's hunting, and the fallout is only beginning. As the sun finally rises over a battered Genoa City, the reckoning arrives with a force no one can outrun, because the truth that was hunted, hidden, and manipulated now crashes through every wall of protection, beginning with the sound of police sirens pulling into the Newman ranch as Chance steps forward with a warrant in hand, his expression resolute yet haunted, and when Victor Newman opens the door, the silence that follows speaks louder than any accusation, forcing a moment of history. Shaking clarity as Chance announces the arrest, not for Victor, but for a trusted Newman insider whose loyalty masked their role in orchestrating the cover-up years earlier. A reveal that detonates through the family like a bomb as Victoria freezes in disbelief. Nicky breaks down knowing this nightmare could have been stopped, and Victor absorbs the blow with grim composure, understanding that this betrayal strikes closer to the bone than any external enemy ever could. Across town, Adam makes his choice at last, turning over the full, unedited file to authorities and publicly confessing his own role in withholding key evidence. A decision that costs him his remaining influence but restores something far more fragile, his conscience, while Sally stands by him despite the fallout, proving that love in Genoa City sometimes survives only when the truth is finally spoken. At the Abbott mansion, Jack refuses to let lies define his legacy, confronting Diane in front of Kyle and insisting on full transparency, prompting Diane to confess to paying off witnesses and falsifying timelines to protect her son. A confession that spares Kyle legal consequences but permanently alters how he sees his mother, leaving their relationship fractured under the weight of her choices. Meanwhile, Billy's spiral ends not in defiance but surrender as he walks into the station and admits to concealing critical information under pressure from powerful forces, an act that brings legal consequences but also unexpected relief, while Phyllis, forced to reckon with the chaos she helped ignite, realizes control comes at a cost even she can't escape. At the hospital, Nate formally resigns, acknowledging his complicity and apologizing to Elena without excuses, a moment of painful honesty that doesn't repair the damage but finally stops the bleeding, allowing Elena to walk forward unburdened by lies. Back at Newman Enterprises, Victor faces the fallout alone, his empire bruised but intact, yet changed forever as he privately admits to Nicky that winning cost him more than he ever imagined. While Chance watches the city settle into an uneasy calm, knowing justice rarely feels victorious when it devastates so many lives. As Genoa City begins to process the aftermath, alliances lie in ruins, reputations are forever altered, and one undeniable truth lingers in the air: power may delay consequences, love may excuse them, but eventually, every secret demands payment. And as the camera pulls back on a city scarred yet surviving, the final message becomes clear. In Genoa City, the truth doesn't just come out, it leaves marks that never fully fade.